Hey.
Hello, everyone.
What's
Howdy
up, everybody?
do.
We didn't actually talk about who's going to like.
I figured Chris is leading
It's
it.
me. It says
Yeah.
right there in
yeah.
bold,
I'm sorry.
my name
I'm sorry.
next to
maybe,
intro.
I'm not sure if I
It
should
says
say anything.
Chris
How
in
about this?
bold
Hello.
text.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, guys. It's me, Chris Gwaltney, as you can see right below me. Current CEO, one of the founders, and we also have Bubba Stallcup and Matt Warmbier. What's up, guys?
How do you do?
Hi.
So the three of us, whether you knew it or not, are three of the six founders of Love Thy Nerd. And really, even though, we were the ones that kind of get that fancy founder title, there was a lot of people here when this thing started, and a lot of you guys that are here watching now. And really, I consider all of you founders. We just like to wave that fancy title around because we're insecure about ourselves.
I feel fine.
I feel both seen and attacked.
All of us,
right now.
all of us, but Matt. Anyway, we are here today because we just have a lot of stuff going on. There's been a lot of moving and shaking when it comes to LTN here these last several months. I mean, basically this whole entire year. And we just kind of wanted to share like some of those updates and just kind of let you guys know what's going on. And for those of you that are here that are like, I just thought this was a Facebook group for memes. This will probably be very informative for you as well, because it isn't just a Facebook group for memes. So just a couple housekeeping things. If you guys have questions about anything that we talk about or things that we don't talk about, please drop them in the chat. We have Kate and Tyranny looking through the chat for those questions. And then at the end, we will get to as many of those questions as we can. So drop those in the chat and we'll hit those up at the end. Also, if you have a question that you don't want to put in the chat for whatever reason, you can email us, chris@lovethynerd.com, Bubba,
Other way.
Bubba
Yeah, there
at
it is,
lovethynerd.com, and Matt@lovethynerd.com. Okay, so it's just our first names, lovethynerd.com. Email us, any one of us, all three of us, none of us, whatever you want to do. Okay. So the first thing that I really want us to kind of dig into is sort of what I already said, which is contrary maybe to some belief or popular belief. We aren't just a Facebook group for memes and cool nerd stuff. We do a whole lot of things. We started back in 2018, just a little over 4 years ago, with kind of this crazy idea to reach nerds with the love of Jesus. So I'm going to turn it over first to Matt just to kind of talk about what our mission is and sort of kind of give like our mission statement.
Yeah. Well, we'll just start with that mission statement. We want to be the love of Jesus to nerds and nerd culture. I think a lot of you, maybe not a lot of you, some of you think that the Facebook group is our only thing. And like Chris said, like we have a lot going on in a lot of places. So we want to bring this love of Jesus to nerd culture wherever they are. And we have 3 pillars, which we base this on. And Bubba's going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that we do, we've kind of done a lot of restructuring, and I won't bore you with all the details, but there are 3 main things and main ways that we accomplish that goal of being the love of Jesus to nerds and nerd culture, which you're going to hear us talk about a lot, not just today, but forever and ever, amen. And the first way is through thoughtful content. And so we've got podcasts, we've got articles on our website, we've got resources, Twitch, all sorts of video stuff that we do. We want to help you think thoughtfully and Christianly about the things that you intake. Whether you are a Christian or not, we want to help you kind of understand our thought process and what drives us to do what we do, which again is the love of Jesus. Secondly, we have intentional community. Okay. And so that is really what you're in right now, Facebook, and also our Discord at lovethynerd.com/Discord. We want you to know that when you're with us, we sure hope that it's on purpose, because at least for us, it is. And we want to go out of our way to love and serve you well by doing it on a daily basis, just loving you in and out through the thick and the thin of it. And then the last way is through relational outreach. And so we actually are a mission sending and a discipleship organization. And we do mission trips. We're about to go, Matt and I, to Gen Con here in 2 weeks.
Wait.
Indianapolis. It's going to be nuts. Upwards of 80,000 nerds playing board games where the Indianapolis Colts play
Wonderland.
football. It's nuts.
It really is.
And so we go and we do this all over the place. But we want to be relational in the way that we do it. So we're not just going to go out there and preach at you. It's like we want to be your friend. We want to hang out with you and love you well. And so those are the three different ways we do it: thoughtful content, intentional community, and relational outreach.
Yep.
Yeah. And any of this stuff, guys, like you can find on our website, lovethynerd.com. We have a bunch of information there, and you hear us talking about it all the time. It's just kind of our shtick. One thing we didn't mention too is that we are a federally recognized 501c3 nonprofit. So this isn't just like a few friends that were like, "Hey, let's do a fun Facebook group and go to conventions or something." Like, this is a legit organization. Well, we try to make it as
okay. I just stop right there. Come on.
I love it when everybody's like, "Well, what's your real job?" I'm like, "Oh
Yes.
man,
Yeah.
you're in for a doozy."
This is it. Yeah.
Surprise.
So the bulk of what we want to talk about today is kind of this new era that we're entering into that we're calling very creatively, and I don't think I've ever heard this before, which is LTN 2.0. And kind of just all of the stuff and all the changes that have been happening over the course of especially these last like 6 or 7 months. And a lot of this came out of, just some conversations we had at our yearly staff retreat, and just us, as founders assessing where we are in our lives, where LTN is, and really felt like we're in this space of like, we're transitioning out of being the, super fast and loose startup into something more mature, organized, and frankly, longer lasting. We want LTN to be around for years and years to come. And so something really cool that happened is we actually established this Roundtable Team. This happened back in, I think, February-ish was our first meeting with the Roundtable Team. And what this team was a cross-section of LTN folks. So we had a couple staff, we had some staff people in there. We had some people from our advisory team in there, which is like kind of like our board. We had some like key volunteers, leadership position volunteers. We had people that give to us financially, and we had people that don't. Like, just tried to get a real cross section of everybody that makes up the LTN community. And the sole purpose of this team was to basically audit and evaluate where LTN is, and then talk about where LTN is going. And I'm telling you guys, like, we're not going to go over all of the stuff that these guys put together, but it was wild. Like, what this group of volunteers did over the course of 2 months for our organizational health and structure and all that stuff is like mind-boggling to me.
Mind-boggling?
Yeah, mind-boggling. Like you're
like
your
we
thoughts
bottle
get all
minds,
bottled.
like we're
No,
a
I don't think
company,
that's actually-
like
I
an
don't think
assembly
it's
line.
bottle.
This is a quote, guys. This is from a movie.
Oh, it's Chris Gwaltney.
What's
the end of that one?
What's that movie? Somebody help me out in the chat. It's from the Will Ferrell. It's got Will Ferrell. Blades of Glory. Is that what it's called?
Blades of Steel.
The ice skating Blades of Steel.
That's one of actually
that's
the
the video game. Blades of Steel is the.
Sometimes I forget that we're not on
Blades of
replay
Glory.
right now.
Mind-boggling.
Sorry,
Look it up.
apologies.
Mind-boggling. Anyway, the Roundtable is rad. They did a lot of work.
Mind-boggling.
And we're giving the stuff we're talking about today is giving you guys like the 900,000 foot view on the Roundtable stuff. So a big thing that's happening is I am leaving. So I, up until this point, have been CEO, president, co-founder of Love Thy Nerd. I've been the one, kind of in that seat trying to drive us forward and think through all those big things. And, several months ago, I started kind of embarking on this journey of just figuring out who I am, what I want to do, where my life is headed. And a big part of that has been us, my wife and I finding out we're pregnant, after, 7+ years of trying. And basically came to the decision that it's just time. It was time for me to move into the next stage, into a new season of life. Nothing bad happened. There's no like scandalous stories or details as far as I know. I mean, maybe you guys have one. But
That's
Don't invite that.
none of that, nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. It's just time. And so a big part of that, a big part of our discussions this year and these changes is my transition out, but Bubba's transition into that position as CEO, and Matt stepping into a new position, which is COO. So Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, respectively. So I wanted those guys to talk about that a little bit and just kind of those new roles and their thoughts about that, what they're excited about and all that kind of stuff. So we'll start with Bubba stepping into the CEO role.
Yeah, this actually is not any kind of a role that I was necessarily gunning for per se. When we did all the roundtable and the restructuring and all that stuff, I actually had myself in Matt's seat as COO because obviously Chris was never going to leave, and so it wasn't going to be an issue. But it was interesting because I was acting CEO, and I love to tell everybody I'm just acting, just an actor. Okay, paid.
This is a game.
I'm like the Mandarin, you know. I'm just an actor.
Oh,
so,
I gotcha.
Yeah, that was an Iron Man.
Oh, you get that movie reference. Cool, man.
Well, it's from Blades of Glory. Yeah, and so like, but in those 2 months, we actually did a lot of things. We did the roundtable stuff. There were a lot of things internally that we dealt with that we didn't have Chris as a safety net for. And so little did I know that it was preparing me for the position that I would be in just a few short months later. Mm-hmm. And I want everybody to know, whether you knew that we were an actual organization or not, that I don't take this lightly. This is something that I love, and we're going to talk about things that we're excited about here in just a little bit. But this is something that I love, and I care so much about this that I quit my job. I was full-time on church staff for 12 years. And in that time frame, we started LTN. We worked previously with Game Church. We did a lot of stuff, and we had full-time jobs. And I got to a point where I knew that this was the thing that God was calling me to do. And that was in October of 2019. And then the world decided that it was done in February of 2020. And so through that, I've been doing LTN. That's been my full-time gig for that long, and even really given full-time effort since way before that. Like having to have legitimate conversations with my church where they're like, hey, you're doing a lot over there, and not a lot in your real job. And so it finally came to the point where at that point, they kind of were my dad. Take it from a guy with daddy issues, absolutely. And so, like, I want you guys to know that this is something that I care deeply about, and I will continue to care deeply about, and try and do my best to love people well and grow with them, and help them grow as I grow alongside of them. I yield my time, Mr. Foreman.
Okay, and I guess for myself, I have basically worked another job up until, well, last week, doing LTN and doing whatever that work was. And I honestly think like the restructure that we're going for and moving forward is going to bring longevity. Just the first 4 years that we just were nose to the grindstone, burning the candle at both ends. Like personally for me, like we didn't have a ton of help during that time. So it was just us like going as hard as we can, as long as we can to like it wore me down there for a while. So coming back with this from this roundtable and having this restructure and finding competent and passionate people who want to help out, it's been really good for me. So like me stepping into the COO role, helping just this organization move forward. I worked as a manager of a Starbucks for many moons,
100 years.
So I'm just, I know, way long. So just taking that experience and using that to kind of just continue to move things forward. And I think we're supposed to talk about what we're excited about as well. Is that right? We good now?
Well, before that, I wanted to just kind of give everybody some handholds here on, you hear these titles like CEO, COO, like cool, they just play golf all day. But in reality, the best way we've been able to think about this relationship with these two positions is obviously the office and Michael Scott, Jim Halpert, co-manager scenario.
Oh, I didn't even think
You've
about
got
this.
the Michael Scott, the CEO, big picture stuff, future oriented. Where are we going? How are we getting there? That kind of stuff. Whereas you've got Jim Halpert and Matt Warmbier, the COO. Can you do your best, Jim Halpert? Look at the camera, Matt.
You have glasses, so you can't see my eyes. I didn't know I mean, called out.
Stares in
I appreciate
Jim.
how
Yeah,
seriously you took that. Thank you. Yeah, there needed to be a little more eyebrow. I think you need.
You can't see him. You can't see him. They're hidden.
Anyway, the COO is the more day-to-day, like getting there into the trenches, especially working with the staff on their challenges and things like that. And even timeline-wise, like we think of it like the CEO, anything that's like 9+ months in the future, like that's the CEO's focus is like vision, where are we going? What's our long-term plan? Whereas the COO is anything in the here and now, the present day, up to 6 to 9 months out is like, that's kind of their focus. So, so next question for you two guys is just what you're excited about with all this LTN 2.0 stuff. We'll start with Bubba. Like what's kind of got you, what's jostling your jimmies?
These comments right now are jostling my jimmies.
Yeah.
If I'm Stanley, I accept. Just let me do my crosswords, all right?
Yeah,
I'll pretend to sleep at my desk and we can all go home early.
Wait for pretzel day, yeah.
Oh, pretzel day. But on pretzel day. So what am I most excited about? All of the things, really. I mean, for a long time, I have viewed LTN from a distance, and not like me from a distance of LTN, but like everything, an overarching view of like what might it be like if we could get in and talk to people. I remember having that first set of conversations with Matt at, I think it was like PAX South 2020, honestly, where we left the booth and we went out and started talking to people and building relationships and doing stuff. And it's just kind of looking at each other and going, we might be onto something here.
I think that was 2018.
Was it 2018?
Yeah.
2030.
Don't do that married couple thing where you argue about a totally meaningless date that no one cares about.
Real talk, I said this earlier. I'm going to be the old guy that I'm not going to be like, 1985, it was a Tuesday and it was raining outside. I'm going to be like, in a galaxy far, far away. That's me.
In the late 1900s.
Yeah. 20
So anyway, PAX South 2030.
Whenever it was that we finally got out of the booth and started talking to people, we knew that we were onto something. And like everything that we've done at LTN has grown from those moments and from that point to say, let's build relationships. And to me, relationships are not built in a vacuum. They're not built in one engagement with somebody. It's over time. And so I like looking at time. I like saying, hey, we're not where we should be. How do we get to where we need to be? And so now I get a chance to do that on a much grander organizational level, while at the same time helping to train other people. Because that's really where my heart beats is for training. I'm a maximizer. If anybody has ever done like Gallup Strength Finder, it ruins me to be this because I tend to overlook some people, and I'm working on that in myself. But what I tend to do is I see people who have amazing potential, and I just want to get them to even further heights. I want to take things that are doing well and shoot them into the stratosphere. And because I've been on the inside of LTN for so long, I know that it's one of those things. I don't worry about LTN at all. It doesn't keep me up at night. How is it going to fund? How is it going to move forward? How are we going to, build and cultivate relationships and programs and discipleship and missions and all sorts of stuff? I don't worry about any of that stuff. It excites me. And so that's kind of where I find a lot of solace in this moment is I get to work with, we've got brand new hires. We got 3 brand new people, and Luke Filipiak, Tyranny Albright, and Matt Coker, that they're coming on, and they're the first wave. They were LTN 2.0 before we were in our change. And so I'm excited about where we're going, where that roundtable discussion is actually taking us, and how every single person who's here gets to be a part of that, whether you knew what you were getting yourself into or not. So future, longevity, like all that kind of stuff, development, like I love it. Here for
I
it.
should always go after Bubba. I just feel like he always has more words than I do. What am I most excited about? LTN Con is coming up this fall in New Albany, Indiana. If you don't know what LTN Con is, head over to ltncon.info on the World Wide Web. And we're going to have a speaker, Jacqueline Parrish. Do people still say World Wide Web? Jacqueline here in the comments, she's coming, being our main speaker. We have breakout speakers, just teaching you all how to, love and serve your nerdy neighbors better, and how to be the love of Jesus to nerds and nerd culture. We're also going to have tournaments and what I'm being told are called tournameals, where you do a tournament while you eat. It sounds messy, but it's going to be so much fun.
Not with my board games. That is not
tons of giveaways, and like honestly, it's just a big family reunion for all the people in the community, like just coming together and learning from each other and sharpening each other. So super excited about that. Head over there, and there's the website there. Thank you, Kate.
Nice.
It's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited about it.
This just in, hot off the presses. So we have a shared Google Doc right now with our agenda, and then at the bottom, Kate is live typing questions coming in from the chat, and the only thing that's there right now says nobody has any freaking questions so far. So here's your friendly reminder: if you guys have questions about any of the stuff we're talking about, put them in the chat. Give Kate something to do. Now she just typed stop. So,
is this a teleprompter now? Is this what we're doing?
Yeah. We're just like a teleprompter thing.
She does not need that kind of power.
No, she does not. No, she does not.
So, lastly is, all this stuff. We're giving a very broad overview. Again, any questions, put them in the chat, email us. But, Jacqueline actually already asked a question that we were already planning to address, which is, what can you guys do to help push this mission forward? We use words like organization or ministry, but ultimately at the end of the day, LTN is a mission. And Matt shared that mission earlier, to be the love of Jesus to nerds and nerd culture. Everything that we do should be pointing towards that mission. And if ever isn't, we have systems in place, and we're putting systems in place to make sure that is always the goal. However, that mission doesn't happen without you guys here watching this video right now or watching it later. We need you. So I just wanted these guys to address some ways that you can get involved. It's not just about giving money. That's definitely a part of it. But there's lots of ways for you to get involved. So we'll start with Matt.
Hey, thank you for having me. The first thing, like, just be active here in the community. You're all watching this on Facebook. Be active here and love others well. We really try to make, and hopefully you see this, we try to make this a safe space for all nerds. And so we just want to encourage you to do the same. And then invite your friends. It's always better to have your friends in the places you love to be. So invite your friends here, encourage them to be active, because it's just going to make it better for all of you and for us. And the last thing I'll mention is volunteer. We've got a lot of opportunities coming up with LTN 2.0, whether that's going on a trip with us to a convention, or helping out with podcasts, or articles, or you name it. Like, we're looking for more people to jump in and be involved. And if you head over to lovethatnerd.com/volunteer, you can send us a message, probably an email, I'm guessing. I haven't actually gone there. I was just told to read this part of it, the web address. It's probably an email you're going to send us, or you can just email one of us. So head over there. Let us know. And if you think, honestly, let us know, how you think you can help LTN. If there's something you're like, man, I really wish that they were doing blank, or I really wish that we were doing something, let us know. We are definitely looking for ways to grow and to spread the love of Jesus to all the nerds. Bubs?
Yeah. I think it's really important just to add onto the tail end of that if you see something that we're not doing that we should be doing, the natural inclination for us is going to be to talk to you more about it, because it's an area that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've been talking about as a staff is not bringing problems without possible ways forward. Not solutions, just possible ways forward. So if you do have, hey, we're not reaching this community that we think we should, please don't leave it there. Give us a possible path forward so that we have something to go off of. Because if we're not doing it already, it's probably because it's a blind spot for us. So help us with that.
Yep. Good call.
Here's some CEO stuff. Like, it's the thing that Jacqueline said, but the thing that she said not to say, and that's donations. Like, ministry costs money, and we cannot do it without you. We're not going to sit here and beg and plead and scratch for all that stuff, but it is important that you guys know that you can get involved with us on a financial basis. If anything that we're doing here at LTN has impacted you or somebody that you know in a positive way, or could even possibly do that, if this is your first time with us, please go to love9nerd.com/partner. And let's talk more about that. If you have questions about where the money is going, what it's doing, just real quick, a couple of things that it goes to help us do is like staffing. That's not sexy, and I'm so sorry about that. But in order for the work to get done, we have to have
sexy.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, they already talked about how the beards are like progressively shortening or lengthening, depending on how you're reading.
My comment was that, well, they said like our beards get progressively longer left to right. And I said our likeness to Bill Murray gets less from left to right.
Yeah, well, it's the bell curve. And so, but like staffing, I know that that's not the sexiest thing to give to. And we will have major projects that we're doing that if you are more interested in giving towards projects, you can do that. But the projects don't get done without the people. And so, like any organization, we want to pay people to do things well. I'm a huge proponent of like passionate and competent people, whether they're volunteer or paid. Like I want people that are black belts, that are Navy SEALs, that are the best of the best in their area. And so in order to get people like that, it usually costs money. And some of you guys know that because you are people like that get paid to do the thing that you do. And so when you give to us, a portion of that goes towards staffing. Also conventions, like Matt was talking about. Like we're getting out, we're moving and shaking, we're doing things. We've got Gen Con coming up, and then we've got, we're helping with Strong Tower Con in the greater Milwaukee area in September. And then we're also doing PAX Unplugged in December. And we've got several other things in between that, including LTN Con. And like we have a lot of stuff going on. So we're always going out and doing things, and you supporting us financially helps us go out and do those things. And then just generally speaking, to reach more nerds. The more opportunities we have to go out, the more opportunities we have to actually reach people. And I like to tell people all the time, even if you don't care about this Jesus thing that we do, that's totally fine. Because what we're also doing is we're reducing toxicity and that level of toxicity in gaming and nerd culture. And just kind of creating an even space where people on either side of the church world and the nerd world can find a space in the middle to just have civil discourse and just talk to each other about, Thor, Love and Thunder or, One Punch Man or anything like that. Like, we just want to create that safe space. And I want to apologize right now that if we have not done that, please let us know so that we can fix and iterate those things so that we do create those safe spaces. But there's a lot of stuff that we get to do. And once you become a financial partner with us, you get to join a special group that we have on Facebook, and we're working to create that also on our Discord server. And that's our fellowship. Those are the people that put their money right where their mouth is, on any level. I would encourage you, if you can give big, to give big. But if you can give small, let's do that too. Like we want you to be a part of who we are and what we're doing. And if you're able to do that on any kind of financial level, I would love to have a conversation with you and see, just where that might fit and what it is that we're doing.
Cool. Thank you guys for running through all that stuff. I mean, there's so many ways for you guys to get involved, and all of them are necessary. If you're familiar with the Bible and that's kind of your world, there's a part, in the New Testament where Paul is talking about the parts of the body. He's talking about the body of the church of Christians, and he likens that to parts of our human body and how some people are ears and some people are noses and some people are eyes and legs and all the other parts of the body. And no one part of the body can say to another part that it's useless, because all of them are necessary to drive the thing forward. And the same is true of LTN. The same is true of our mission. You know, my Catholic grandma is not going to go to a convention with 80,000 people and play board games with them. That's not feasible for
Did you
her to
ask
do
her?
physically.
Challenge. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But what she can do is she can write me a check, because let's be honest, she's still writing checks.
Checks. Yeah.
She can write me a
cashier's
check
Yeah.
for $50 so that I can go and reach those people and play board games with them and love them where they're at. So everybody has a part to play. That includes all of you here watching this now or later. So we do want to take some time for questions. And then here in like a half an hour, we're going to go do this exact same thing on Discord. So you're welcome to come over there and see if we do it just as well or worse. But we do actually have some questions now. I think we officially shamed some people into writing some questions in. So first question, what if I feel like my financial gift will be too small? And Matt, I'm going to have you answer this one.
I don't think that there's such a thing as that, honestly. Like, you look at the widow giving what the little that she has, like every little bit helps, honestly. Like, it's from your heart. We're not saying give us $500. We're saying, like, give what you're able. Like, really,
if you're able to give $500,
if you're able, absolutely. But if you're not, then like like I said, like we need your help with this mission. So we do have people who give $2 a month, and that's what they're able to give, and we thank them for that. Like, that's generous. We have some who give much more than that, but they're also able to. So I don't think that there's no too small, and we won't come back to you and say, I'm sorry, did you forget a zero or whatever? Like, we won't do that, because like we're thankful that you have trusted us and chosen us and decided to partner with us, and you see value in this mission that we're doing. So good question. And
honestly, we're just south of 4,000 members in this group. That's a lot. If every one of those people gave $1 a month, we would be in a that would put us into the stratosphere in terms of ministry we could do. And that's just every person giving $1. And there are people that could give more than that. So totally does not matter.
Yep.
Okay, Bubba, this question is going to be for you. What kind of events can we look forward to with LTN 2.0?
It's so many. So this is really interesting, because we have our tried and true things that we've been doing. Okay, so generally speaking, what we do is we go to tabletop events. All right, because that's really easy. If we're doing everything from this relational mindset that I want to build a relationship with you and get to know you and stuff like that, Chris can tell you from personal experience, an 8-hour game of Twilight Imperium, 4th edition will kind of help you do that. But you're looking across the table from somebody, or you're sitting next to them or whatever it is, and you're able to kind of share the same space and build that relationship in a big kind of a way. So we're going to continue to do those kinds of events where we go to the Gen Cons and the PAXs and all that stuff. But we're also going to try, because LTN 2.0 does not mean 2023. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean the end of 2022. It means like this is our next launch, right? We're going to try and get out into different fandoms. We're going to try and, as best as it makes sense and as best as we're able, to move across the country, and inevitably, if it makes more sense to do so, to get out of the country and go internationally. What we're going to be doing in each one of those areas is looking into it and saying, A, do we have anything to add to it? B, does it need us? Or, B point 2, is somebody else in that space doing something that we can like partner with them and help them push something further along? Because the beauty of it is that not everything in the world needs to have the Love Thy Nerd stamp on it. Churches, people, whatever, come to us, wow, we'd love to have an LTN game night. Let us teach you how to run a game night. We'll give you our principles and best practices, and then you go and be so imbued to be the love of Jesus to those nerds. But we are going to do our best to broaden our horizons. And the beauty of that is that Luke Filipiak is coming on. He's already with us, but he's coming on board to do very specifically LTN IRL events. And so that is going to include things like LTN Con and mission trips, but also engaging with people in one-on-one kind of large space, whatever in-person IRL, in real life event spaces. So we have been known as Love Thy Tabletop before, I think kind of tongue in cheek, but it's because it works for the model of what it is that we're trying to do. Doesn't mean that we just love tabletop games, but when we go to a video game convention, it is more difficult to do what it is that we're trying to do, because people are just moving from one demo to another.
Well, and that's why we like have online events like here in the community. Like, it was something another way you can get involved. Kind of jumping back a little bit is like we have our arcade event days where we play games with you all on the onlines. Like, typically find some type of game that everyone wants to play, and we set up times for you to play. So be on the lookout for that. First Saturday of most months. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I have a 1 billion more words to put on that, but I think that probably does what needs to be done.
We'll tie the bow right there. All right, Chris.
Bubba, one thing you've mentioned before, and I don't think you've mentioned it yet during this, but I think it's worth mentioning, is this idea of strategic partnerships. It's something that you've really been hot on the last several months and have been, frankly, just doesn't shut up about it. Would you continue to not shut up about it and speak a little bit about that with the good folks here?
So again, in an effort to be relational, I think that, we can do sponsorships and whatever, where they're like one-time touches where we just have a small interaction with a company or an organization or, a sister ministry or whatever. It doesn't matter. I think that that's super fine-ish for other organizations. Kind of what I'm more interested in is how do we create longevity? Because I don't think that anybody's going to fully understand what LTN has to offer, and what I see in LTN and why I've given everything that I have to this until they spend more time with us. And so we have, I mean, you guys might know of a tiny little game, barely even heard of it, called Dice Throne. That was actually when we got out of the booth at that first, PAX South in 2059, and we walked around. That was one of the first, wasn't even like a company yet. Like, they were just kickstarting for the very first time Dice Throne. And so we went over to, I think it was the Indie Showcase, that little roundabout where they didn't even have like a booth. They had a table there where they were just showing people how to play Dice Throne. And we have grown that relationship over time. And that relationship was 5 years, 6 years in the making. It's been a hot minute, and we want to keep doing that with more people and more organizations. We're starting to build that right now with Funko, and we built it with Keymaster and Fowers Games and Skybound and Druid City, and like all these people that we work with, Lucky Duck, on just like a frequent basis. We want to continue to build these relationships, because the more time a person spends with you, the more they actually legitimately get to know you. And I think that that's the same on an organizational level. We can fake it for a weekend. That's actually pretty easy. But I want us to not take off our, love of Jesus to nerds and nerd culture hat when we leave the convention. Like, I want people to still see us interacting all the time. So I'm a big fan of strategic partnerships, and that's a push and pull kind of relationship, right? Like, what are we going to get out of it? But what are we going to give you, and what are you going to get out of this relationship as well? And then hopefully that fosters into, they either introduce us to somebody else, which grows both relationships, or we end up working with them time and time again, which really all of it happens.
And I would say another big key to this is churches, partnerships, strategic partnerships with churches. And this is something, guys, we've been doing this kind of ministry stuff for nigh on a decade.
Yeah.
And we have yet to crack this nut. How do we get churches to see the value and the importance of what we're doing and the impact and the return of what we're doing, and really want to partner with us in meaningful ways?
Yep.
And that's something that we continue to explore and we continue to try to unlock. And one of the reasons I wanted to say that is because a lot of you here go to churches and are a part of churches. And the ways that we have seen it work is through those relationships. Cold calling, forget it. Who cares? Like, there's no relationship there, and it's very hard for anything to come of that. Where we've seen it work is, our very own Matt Warmbier, for instance, with his home church. And the really cool, that's where we're hosting LTN Con, is at their church. And so we've gotten to see some cool things out of that. So the reason I'm saying that is because if you're interested in LTN in some way, starting up a strategic partnership with your church, like, hit us up, email us, put us in touch with somebody there, make an introduction, talk to some of your leadership, whatever it is. And some of you even work for churches. So like you have even more kind of clout or whatever. Let's start the conversation, man. Like, conversation doesn't hurt anything. We could get the end of that conversation and be like, it's a nah for me, dog. And that's fine. Like, that's no skin off our back. It's no skin off yours. But if we have that conversation, we're like, hey, there's some real synergy here. Like, that's rad. Let's do it. I have to cough.
Oh, jeez.
Oh man!
You ever
that just came out of nowhere?
You ever have somebody have like a real life exclamation point at the end of their sentence?
Bro, I was pushing through the end of that.
I'll say, I mean, just to tack onto that a little bit, it's like we are, I mentioned it earlier, we're a mission sending and discipleship organization. And part of our discipleship stuff, if you're not a Christian, hey, here's a peek behind the curtain. Part of that means that it's like discipleship is a learning process. And so a lot of what we do, and this is what I tell people anytime I get a chance to go and speak and talk about LTN or the mission that we're on, is that we do a lot of reprogramming of Christians who have grown up in Christian culture their entire lives, or, if it's a small amount of time and a focused fire amount of time that they've been a Christian. Because you can't take the same way into every single situation. We got to treat people like they're people and like they're individuals, right? Like every single person is a sum of the moments that led up to this moment right now. And if I treat you like I treated the last person, I'm doing you a disservice. And so what we try to do is we come in and we raise awareness for the churches just in general to say, hey, there are nerds in your space. There are. And they're not hiding. They're there. You just got to kind of draw them out a little bit. Yeah. And then also, we teach you how to love and serve them well. Now, it's not the be all end all. Your community is going to be different than ours. But when we go on mission, here's the push pull, right? When we go on mission, we can say, hey, we're actually in Indianapolis for Gen Con. We partner with this local church, and I know you're going to have questions. I'm going back to Texas. Let me get you involved with somebody here at the church. We have a local contact that we can pour somebody into, because I dropped a bombshell on them. And then I flew back to Texas. Hopefully we have continued communication and relationship that's building, but there's also a need to be tied into like a local body. And for people that you can go to and talk to or play games at their house or ask questions, like those strategic partnerships really help us to connect people in a very specific way, because we do not believe in short-term missions at LTN. We do them because we have to, but we don't believe in short-term missions. We do short-term missions with a long-term mission mindset, all right? So if you know somebody or you are somebody, please, let's talk. 9 times out of 10, we just wait for people to reach out to us, and that tends to work a lot better. So if you can get the ball rolling, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. We have one more question, but if, again, any of you guys watching, you have any questions about any of the stuff we've talked about, type it in the chat right now while we're answering this last question, or email us, Chris, Bubba, Matt,
or head over to Discord, and we'll be doing this again.
Yeah, we'll be doing this
we'll
again
be right
in Discord. So last question, this will be a really quick one, is LTN connected to Jesus Otaku at all? The answer is yes.
Chris, yeah.
Yeah, we love those guys. They're another kind of adjacent ministry, working specifically in anime culture. Do a ton of cosplay stuff, and we've had them, several different times as speakers for LTN Con, both keynote, breakout speakers. We've in the past, even before LTN, have partnered with them in, you know, booths and things at conventions, like, yeah, we are very connected to Jesus Otaku for sure.
Yep.
So
Sweet.
I don't see any other questions. Do you guys have any final closing thoughts? Think of this as like Jerry Springer's closing thoughts. Did you guys ever watch Jerry Springer?
Yeah, Rock over London, Rock over Chicago, Snapple made from the best of on earth.
I watched Jerry for the fights. So
Same.
I watched it for the closing thoughts.
no.
And that's why you always leave a note. All right, there you go.
That's Dallas.
Dude, we've been rewatching Arrested Development, man. What an absolute gift to humanity that
It
show
really
is.
It really
Well, there's always money in the banana stand.
There's always money in the banana stand. Well, hey guys, love you lots. You two here and the rest of you watching. Thanks for being here. We're going to go do this again on Discord. If you want to be there for whatever reason, please do. I don't think it'll be video. I think it's just going to be audio
Just audio,
only
yeah.
in stages. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. And again, reach out to us. Let us know if you want to get more involved or you have any questions or anything like that. We're here for it. So anything else? All right, cool. We're out of here, gang. Love you guys.